Welcome back, everyone. So, I don't know if you've had a chance to catch any of the international news, but it has been quite a big deal in Europe over the last few weeks. The large protests by farmers in so many different European nations. They have got their tractors out on the roads, blocking roads, or driving very slowly down the roads to cause traffic disruption as a form of protest against mostly the rules laid out by the EU, by the European government surrounding farming. Now, some of these rules you've probably heard about before because the European Union and many places around the world have been really considering very seriously the effect of farming on the environment. What can they do? What restrictions can they place on farmers that make sure they can still do their job, but in a more environmentally friendly way? And so there is good things about that, such as, leaving pieces of land fallow to encourage biodiversity, or using less pesticides on the crops to, not let more chemicals into the food chain, into the water supply, and so on. Reducing the density in cattle farming also helps to reduce the amount of methane being put into the atmosphere, so we can reduce greenhouse gases, etc., and CO2 emissions. But of course, all of these things are ultimately reducing the amount that each farmer can produce in a certain time period, therefore reducing the amount of profit they can make. When you add to this, there are increasing fuel and fertilizer costs because of the war between Ukraine and Russia. Also, there is the influx of cheap imported food products. Ukraine has had its its import tariffs removed, so that there's a very cheap source of food coming in. So the other European farmers struggle to compete with those low prices. And so, yes, basically, the farmers aren't saying that they don't care about the environment, but they're saying that so many rules and restrictions have come in, it's damaging their livelihood and their ability to survive. So the European Union is going to have to consider this quite seriously. One more thing, the weather conditions, weather cycles, because of the effects of global warming, is already making farming harder than it was even 10 years ago, more unpredictable. And there is less safeguards. Governments are not supporting the farmers when crops fail, when bad weather unexpectedly changes the outcome of their yield. So a lot of problems, and it's something we have to take seriously, because I think these kinds of issues could come up anywhere in the world for any farmers as we notice the effects of global warming, and we're dealing with increasing government attempts to make farming more environmentally friendly. So it was a very complicated set of issues, a lot to get through there. But have you heard about anything like this in America? Do you think that farmers in your country have grievances with the rules and regulations?
Especially for the environmental stuff. There still is, not as much as Europe. There's, as far as I know, no mass protesting of any sort of regulations, but there's pushback. Every time there's any regulations when it comes to environmentally sound ways of farming, there is pushback. There's also some acceptance because people want to buy products that are more environmentally friendly, whether they truly are or not. And so there is some not inspiration, incentive to do it, but not a lot. However, the biggest grievance I've heard of is the companies which genetically engineer seeds to make them grow faster, hardier, bigger, to produce more yields. But they also genetically sterilize the female part, I believe, meaning they're not able to create germinatable seeds or seeds which will grow again. However, the male parts, I guess they haven't found a way to do this because sometimes the wind brings the pollen to other farmers' parts, pollinating their normal crops, which then are growing the genetically engineered crops benefits without paying the company that is selling the seeds. And these farmers are being sued by these companies. Even though it's like, we can't block wind.
Yeah, it's not their fault.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of contention with these. And people are also upset at these companies because they are controlling the price of seeds, not just in America, around the whole world. There are farmers who are in debt to these companies and having to pay them back, but also not able to raise the crops. And anyway, it's a complicated, terrible issue. And the question is should these companies be able to own these products
I get you.
in this strict way?
Another controversy, but very interesting. So something in this huge list of things that I can definitely relate to is pesticides. So also, John, do you worry about pesticides in your food? If so, what do you do to try and avoid them?
If I had more time and money, I would worry more. But I know worrying about pesticides in food is only going to be a stress that I can't alleviate, because I would have to do the research, and then after I do the research, I would find out that the more expensive brands are the ones with the least amount of pesticides, leading to financial issues. So unfortunately, as of now, I don't have the time or energy to get into it. However, it's probably something I should be worried about.
Yes, I think I feel the same. I think with this particular bone of contention, I might have to let it go. I don't think I can afford to avoid pesticides.
Which is crazy to say. We can't afford to not be poisoned.
Sad but true. And on that poignant note, it's time to face the reality that is the vocabulary section. Dive in and don't worry too much about the food you're eating, but care more about the farmers. And we'll see you in the next article. Bye-bye.
Grievance.
Grievance.
Pesticide.
Pesticide.
Yield.
Yield.
Biodiversity.
Biodiversity.
Tariff.
Tariff.